Welcome, everybody. We are pre-recording this conversation for Puerto Rico Energy in 60 Minutes with our friend Ignacio Diaz. As always, I'm joined by my partner, Tom King. Hi, Tom.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. This is a little bit of an odd setup. We're all sitting around the same table,
Yep.
But for recording purposes and for general posterity, we have one microphone and several cameras. But before we jump into our conversation with Ignacio, a little bit of housekeeping. We have a couple of exciting announcements. First and foremost, we have our upcoming event through the Puerto Rico Energy Forum, the Puerto Rico Clean Energy Week event is taking place September 15th and 16th at Vivo Beach Club. Last year, we had our inaugural event. It was an afternoon full of panels and expert discussions and really valuable insight from industry leaders here on the island and folks around the country that are interested in energy in Puerto Rico. And this year, we've decided that there's way more to talk about than can fit in one afternoon. So it's 2 days of activities. Still high quality conversations and insights around Puerto Rico energy, what's happening, federal changes, permitting and legal changes, nuclear, microgrids, industrial energy, you name it. We're going to run the gamut of topics all around energy in Puerto Rico. We are also very happy to be strategic partners with Ignacio, his team at Glen International, to promote their upcoming event in Puerto Rico, Energy 2025. And Ignacio is going to talk all about that activity coming up here in a moment in the heart of our conversation. But we are pre-recording this on August 8th. And I didn't introduce myself, but I'm Sam Tallman, Director of Energy Services at Green Power Technologies and co-founder here at the Energy Forum. And Ignacio, thanks for hosting us. Thanks for being with us.
Most welcome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
So let's start just by highlighting some of the key details about your event. When is it? Where is it? What's the agenda? And then we're going to get into the meat of the conversation, and everybody needs to hear things multiple times. So we'll get back into some of the Energy 2025 event at the end of our conversation. So we really bookend what we're going to discuss today.
Okay, so Energy 2025, which is the largest energy event of the Caribbean, will happen on October 10th, which is Friday, October 10th of this year. And it will be at the Convention Center. We're expecting to reach 800 people in the event.
Awesome.
And as in every, this event happens every 2 years, not every year. So the minute we finish the event, we begin planning the next one. And it's because it's so hard to do. And then, of course, everybody says, how are you going to up the ante from the one that you did before? Because 2023 was an incredible success.
Right, so, Secretary of Energy, Jennifer Granholm.
MIT, Donald Satterway, the Julia Palette from London for Formula E. We had Cornell University presenting hydrogen. I mean, it was unbelievable. And here we are again. We did it once again. It's just crazy. The roster of speakers that we have, it's like a dream. I mean, I got people from the US calling saying, can we attend?
Feel free to share your screen, by the way. I know that you've got the event information here.
It's So
while you're pulling that up, it's energypr.biz to get more information. Look at the agenda and find out who's going to be attending.
Correct. And if I hope you're seeing the screen.
We are. Yeah.
As you can see, 61 days until the event. You can register right here. The beauty of the event is that it's fairly inexpensive. It's $260 to attend. One of the things that we do, and you guys have both attended before, so we do things right. I mean, you have gifts and bags and stuff when you first come in. Everybody will receive a lanyard fairly similar to this one, which will have, once again, a USB in the lanyard.
This is the best thing I've ever seen, by the way. And I was doing some spring cleaning. A little late, it's August, but doing some spring cleaning nonetheless. And I still have my lanyards from 2021 and 2023. If you want, and this happens all over the place, if you want to take photos of the presentation, there is no need because you already can load it up on your computer and follow along with the presentation as it's happening. It's brilliant.
The night before, we have a crew of people from Glen loading up and burning every single USB with all the videos and all the presentations. Everybody has them there. So again, we try to take attention to detail in the event, to make sure that it is a class act. And we have a lot of very, very high-end executives that come to the event, as well as people from MIT, Cornell, from all these universities, Secretary of the DOE.
Yeah.
And they always end up saying, this is a class act.
Well run.
So, I mean, it's something that we take great pride of doing it right. Not many times this whole saying of Puerto Rico lo hace mejor actually is a reality this time. It actually is.
Living up to the license plate.
Let's say, I mean, look, you're leading the way. You're showing the way to put these on in a wonderful fashion and make it integrate and user friendly. And we're not quite there yet, but we're following up. So I don't think anybody can expect to have all the presentations on a nice drive for our event coming up.
They will have it posted.
They will have it posted. There you go. Absolutely.
Here's one of the things that I really like is that, and Tom, you and I were talking about this, about how our two events complement each other in a nice way.
Yeah.
We are very much focused on what's happening in Puerto Rico in sort of a granular detail way of trying to get into it. And what I like about what Energy 2025 event does and previous iterations of it is putting Puerto Rico in the conversation globally or nationally. It's not just about looking at what's happening on the island. It's looking about how does Puerto Rico be the host of a conversation so that we are more than just the projects that do or do not happen here in Puerto Rico, but it's also, okay, what can we look for in other markets? What can we aspire to? What can we learn from? And I think that's critically important because I think that if you, and this is not to throw any shade on our own event, but if you only look at Puerto Rico in the Puerto Rico context, you miss a lot of other exciting things that are happening in the industry and energy industry writ large. And of course, Puerto Rico doesn't exist in a vacuum. And so maybe that leads us into the sort of the heart of our conversation, which is if you want to touch on that?
To your point. So one of the things that drove energy, because this started in 1992 with what we used to brand it EC92 was the first one. It was July 10th, 1992. And it was mostly based on conservation because we had no real generation away from what it was fossil fuel based. Then it evolved with all the generation options and everything we have today with storage and everything else has developed into just energy.
Yeah.
But so many things have happened in the last 20 years. It's just crazy to think where we are today. Now, your event focuses heavily into the problems that we're facing in Puerto Rico and a lot of the issues with policies and I would call it inaction.
Yes.
Things not happening, at least not in our street, like we were discussing before, but just things not tracking correctly, which is needed. Now, energy goes a little bit wider into a worldwide scenario as all the changes that are going on in this sector, whether it's generation, whether it's T&D, whether it's artificial intelligence, how that comes to play, and I'll explain that in a minute, or electric vehicle and infrastructure and everything else that's happening because it is a very, very complex bag of goods that is going on right now. But yeah, I mean, it becomes a little bit harder because every 2 years we expand that horizon a little bit more, and we then go broader to bring some incredible speakers. I mean, we're spending over $100,000 in speakers alone. So we have several of those that are TED Talkers. So we have some TED Talkers that are world renowned on the field of energy. So, I mean, again, this will be extremely revolutionary.
Yeah.
I assure you that a lot of these people that are coming to this event, when they saw the roster of other speakers, they're like, oh, I'm not missing that. There was one that, to my surprise, said, how could I ever complement what you have already secured into your event? I was like, are you kidding me? And that was Alice Jackson, who has perhaps one of the speakers that I will be paying most attention to because she's a third speaker, and she's actually going to be speaking about artificial intelligence into controlling the power flow in the power grid.
Right.
So that is going to be a fascinating presentation.
Yeah.
Because if you think of it, power grids have not changed their designs in 100 years. And but the flow of energy has tremendously. Everybody has solar panels and this and electric vehicles and AI and data centers. And, meanwhile, how do we control this? And how do we evade having power outages like the one happening in Spain just a few months ago? If you have artificial intelligence controlling that flow and forecasting what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, and fixing that before it actually becomes a problem, you evade those issues.
I think it goes even further. I mean, I was having a very interesting meeting with 3 community leaders in Nahuatl last night, and they were talking about some incredible things that I wasn't even thinking about, but just the ability to control your battery and how you do it. And many people at the level just they aren't set up to set up their battery or fix the algorithms or get online or do different things. And frankly, you shouldn't have to. So there's an opportunity especially when you're talking about AI and you're talking about Puerto Rico, where you have so much distributed energy. Not everybody is eventually going to set up, a contract with a VPP, and even if they do, how do they manage that? AI has to work beyond just the grid and actually all the way down to the energy systems for the prosumers that are so key to the way that the grid operates in Puerto Rico going forward. So that's going to be really interesting.
Yeah,
we're talking before we hit record about industrial users, and this is where when there's perhaps fragility on the grid level, using AI, and we were talking about this with regards to an NTIA grant opportunity, is understanding how do you almost immediately, leveraging 5G and AI, protect critical infrastructure, protect critical machinery, protect highly sensitive equipment within your operation, isolate certain things, basically say, okay, the administrative offices can have weaker voltage for a second, but our robotic technology that's involved in pharmaceutical manufacturing cannot. And so we're going to slice everything into various levels, use AI to say, okay, the quality of the energy is good enough for this, but it's not good enough for this, and start bringing online certain levels of redundancy. There's a lot of national security implications there, industry implications there.
This is actually at a higher scale. This is one at a higher scale on a grid level,
right,
management to control that flow, which is critical because it will optimize our generation with our T&D demand.
Yeah.
So this is a whole different. By the way, this lady, I have talked to her a couple of times already. Wow, she's intimidating as far as how smart she is. I've talked to a lot of the speakers that are coming, and my goodness, I am telling you, we're in for a run. I mean, we're going to be, our brains are going to be blown away.
That's all.
The first guy that we have, which is a keynote speaker, his name is Gerard Reed. By the way, when you go to the website, you can see all the information in regards to all the sponsors. You guys are going to be right here. So I think you send the logo, or you're going to send the logo.
We've sent it, yep.
But actually, you're here. You're already there. There it is, Puerto Rico Energy Forum.
Right.
So you're already there. So the collaborators are just plotting in. So the School of Engineers coming in, the School of Architecture is coming in, the School of Peritos Electricistas, Electricians is coming in, which they get continued education credits, all of them, for attending the event. The chamber is already there, the Puerto Rico and the Spain, which is going to be publishing elsewhere as well. So Industriales is going to be coming in as well. So there's going to be a lot of collaborators happening. So it's just the first time you're going to have all this collaboration happening. So I think the event's going to fill up pretty quickly, which is great. And again, at $260 for a magnificent like this, it's just unbelievable. Yeah. And again, that includes breakfast, it includes lunch, it includes a wine and cheese at the end if you have any brain cells left. If not, we're going to kill those. But it's a fun thing, great networking. Incredible people. You'll be rubbing shoulders with some of the smartest people. The president of TRC, Chris Vinksy, who's a diamond sponsor, will be here at the event as well. He's actually good friends with Chris Wright from the DOE. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But so our keynote speaker, which was the first one we landed, we were really looking for this guy, and we couldn't find him. And we ended up finding him. He lives in Dublin, Ireland, and he lives 6 months in Berlin and 6 months in Ireland. And he's the #1 asset in regards to energy in Europe. I mean, this guy, if you have a minute, go and watch you guys watch TED Talks. Yeah. So go to the TED Talk or search in TED or just in the Google Gerard Reed TED Talk. And several will show, but look at the one in Berlin. It's called The Future of Energy. It's going to blow your mind away. I mean, how smart, eloquent. He talks about heavy on solar, heavy on storage, heavy on nuclear. And he talks about all the different technologies, and he compares them all financially. I mean, it is unbelievable. In 40 minutes, this guy gives you like a perspective of the world like you have never seen before. Talks about China. It's just, it will blow your mind away. And again, that's the keynote. That's the first guy that opens up. From there, we go to a guy that is considered a hero in Latin America. His name is Ramon Mendez Galain, which, by the way, has been interviewed. Like, since we signed him up, a few people from Puerto Rico have gone to interview him in Uruguay. Yeah. And they've had great constructive interviews that are all over the redes sociales and social network. This guy's amazing. 15 years ago, Uruguay, which is a country of 3 million people, rolling blackouts, whole issues of energy. It was affecting everybody. It was really hampering their growth capabilities. And this guy's a professor from the University of Uruguay. He's a physicist, but he saw he was affecting his students. He was affecting all of his friends. So he wrote a thesis. That's what doctors and professors do. He wrote a thesis into here is the problem, and here is how you can fix that. And he published a thesis in the university, but then the newspaper actually grabbed it and published it. And then the president of the country called him a month later and said, "Are you Professor Ramon Mendez Gana?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, So I read your thesis and I read what you wrote, and I think it's brilliant and I actually believe in it. So how about I create a position like the Secretary of the Department of Energy and I put you to head it so you can implement that policy? And he said, "Well, I'll do it with one condition," which, by the way, is in his TED Talk. If you go to his TED Talk, he describes it. He has several too. And then he says, "I'll do it with one condition. We go to Parliament and we get everybody in Parliament to agree with it, no matter their color or their political affiliations. And they let me execute my plan for the next 5 years without any obstacles." Everybody voted unanimously. They named them. 5 years later, Uruguay, 98% renewable, cheapest energy in South America, and a net exporter to Brazil and Argentina. So this guy comes to present what has been done, not what can be done, what has already been done, and how to actually achieve that, which is unbelievable. The third speaker, which is the one that I think is going to blow everybody's mind, is about artificial intelligence into power grids. Now, funny, you know where she comes from, a company called Breakthrough Energy.
Yeah.
You know who owns that? Microsoft. So Microsoft launched this out because they were looking to see where there was energy not utilized.
Yeah.
So they were looking for reactors, they were looking for hydro, wherever there was energy that was not being sold, that they had capacity, because his idea was, I'll put a data center right there because they need data centers. And I just go and touch on their door and go, "Hey, I saw that you have like a couple gigawatts that you're not selling. You mind if I pay you 3 cents kilowatt hour, and that way I can buy that and put it to work?" But then when they went out there and started searching and looking and implementing these searching engines, they started to realize that these people didn't know what to do with the data they have.
Yeah.
And then they're like, there's a business here. So they created this integrated group that Alice heads that's now implementing AI to be able to manage not only that energy, but also the flow of the different energies and how to use it efficiently, which I think is absolutely brilliant. Now, you were talking about storage. Kelsey Pegler is the CEO of a company called FlexGen. They are the #1 company for EMS, for management software for utility scale storage. If you do not have a good management software for utility scale storage, you're looking at fires. Then you can Google that later on. It's happening everywhere, from the West Coast to the East Coast to China to everywhere in the world. Those containers light up. But interestingly enough, never happened with FlexGen. And it's good to see how they can implement it with they don't do hardware. They just do the software. So this is a company that works with all kinds of different manufacturers of batteries, but they control the thermal runaway and the issues with the batteries to make sure that they operate optimum and they don't have any issues with fires.
So Ignacio, drop your screen down because we'll come back to the rest of your agenda here in a little while. But I want to pick your brain about something that we talked about a moment ago. And actually, even before I say that, this is October 10th, Friday, October 10th at the Convention Center in San Juan, Energy 2025. It's energypr.biz. We'll come back to talk more about the event in just one moment.
Yes, sir.
One of the things I will say, you said you guys do pay a lot of attention to detail. If you are a coffee lover, Ignacio has the best coffee at any event you will attend here in Puerto Rico, and so it's just a minor thing.
I agree with that.
But if your brain cells are getting fried by the amount of information that is being plugged in, the coffee in the foyer is a real plus.
And so we have 2 cafecletas. So we put 2 cafecletas, 2 big espresso mega station. And I gotta say, it's true what you're saying, Sam, because it's the best coffee. I actually look forward to that. I got a story for you. In 2023, it was the first time I had issues with my heart. I had weird palpitations at night because it was the first time in my life that I had 28 cups of coffee in one day. So again, I usually have
They're espresso.
yeah, double espressos, but I usually have 14, and I'm okay with that. But 28 was a bit excessive, so I actually had, for the first time ever, I will never do that again, even though that coffee was so good. I wasn't doing it for waking up. I was doing it because it tasted so good.
So if you know Ignacio and you know how hard he works, if it required 28 cups of coffee just the day of to put this event on, that'll give you some indication of the quality of the conversations and networking that you'll have on October 10th. Ignacio, I want to jump into a bit of a conversation talking about what we mentioned a moment ago, which is putting Puerto Rico in we're really trying to understand Puerto Rico's place in the world. And if you would just stop sharing your screen for a moment so that
Sure.
we're highlighted again. What is Puerto Rico's, and let's put the world aside for a second and really think about the United States. So what is Puerto Rico's role in America's 2030 energy trajectory? And how do we, what do we do in the next 12 months? I mean, the 2030 horizon's 5 years away. What do we do in the next 12 months or so to really actively participate in that 2030 strategy on the national
That's
level?
a very complex question. So you have to think with the administration in DC and what we have now with Chris Wright and with President Trump, one of the things that they have realized is that we need energy in scales. I mean, this is, if you talk to Chris will tell you he has nothing against solar and he has nothing against storage. Now, very differently with wind, that's a fact. They don't want wind. They when it comes to wind turbines, they're not for that. But in regards to solar and storage, they don't have an issue with that. But they also understand that they need more scale. That if you want to do what the United States wants to accomplish now, not only with leading AI, but also with the electrification of everything, and including Puerto Rico with reshoring pharma, bringing a lot more manufacturing, having Puerto Rico have what we have always discussed, Puerto Rico 2.0. How do we reinvent ourselves to make Puerto Rico, again, a jewel of manufacturing with the quality of people that we develop here? The people that we actually graduate from your universities, which is huge in bioengineering and all these STEM type programs. How do we maintain these kids here and have them create a life here instead of exporting them, which what we're doing right now, and sending them away? So if you think of it, we're in sync with what they're looking to do. And if you ask Chris, he will tell you, look, we're looking right now, and that's not a secret. Drill, baby, drill is a reality. So they're like, we are all about natural gas because it's accessible right now. We have an excess capacity of it. And, they can actually pull it out of the ground, make it, and generate. But meanwhile, all of the people that are developing the data centers of this world, like Stargate, which is $500 billion, $500 billion in Texas, they're all going to and saying, look, you can drill, baby, drill all you want, but you're not going to have enough. The gas is just not, even if you go to Iceland and drill Iceland, you're not going to have enough gas. We need more. We need to move into SMRs, and SMRs, small modular reactors.
Yep.
And that's the only thing that's going to give us energy in scale. So we're not against that either. We actually love nuclear. It's clean energy. It actually goes hand in hand with renewables and with storage. It's a phenomenal solution for Puerto Rico. So we're bringing 2 presentations on nuclear at the event of energy. So, I mean, I think if we actually are able to get closer to DC, closer to Chris Wright, and closer to this administration, I think we can win them over to say, look, we're all about following your lead. You want natural gas to be our base generation, which is what we're converting to anyways, because it's the cheapest source and the cleanest there is. We're game. And you want us to actually adopt SMR, small modular reactors, to actually increase our capacity of generation and stabilize our generation, our power grid. We're game. But look up. We can harvest this, and it's free. And it's natural, and it comes to this island, and we have an excess of it.
Right.
So help us harvest that as well, and help us store it as well. Right. And I think if Chris Wright comes down to Puerto Rico and sees what we have to offer and sees what we're thinking holistically, he'll fall in love with Puerto Rico.
So on that note, what capability should or could Puerto Rico export to the mainland United States in terms of energy? Is it tropicalized best implementation? Is it corrosion handling materials? Is it the blend of rooftop solar and industrial microgrids and utility scale SMRs? What's the capability that Puerto Rico has that we can contribute to the national conversation? And who is the first buyer, so to speak, of that? Is that Texas, Florida, southeastern state? Who benefits most from us exporting that capacity?
You know, you're gonna kill me. You're gonna kill me. But you know what I think our biggest export opportunity is in regards to energy is our talent.
Yes.
We have, I mean, think this island has over 1 gigawatt, 1.18 gigawatts of rooftop solar. We have
going up, right?
We have many microgrids already implemented. The people here have reinvented themselves, and we have incredible engineers and electricians that are doing incredible work with renewable energy and with storage. And let's face it, as all of these energy needs happen in the US, energy costs in the United States will go up as well. Not as radical as ours will, because of the debt that we're inheriting from the past sins of our families. But at the same time, energy costs are going to go up. And I think that our talent and our experience that we have gained with all of what we have done for resilience issues, because it really was after Maria that we developed all this, is something that we can export. I mean, look at it. All of these manufacturers come down to Puerto Rico to actually deploy their solutions and test them, because we really go out. We're the vanguard of all of these, net meter solutions, and also the storage solutions for residential, commercial, and even industrial applications.
Yeah, think about this as an energy war zone, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many different things. There's so much, I mean, there's so much confusion as well, but there's so many opportunities and so many people innovating and so many people in the industry, acting on the fly, and they're creating new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things, new types of regulation to deal with problems that people haven't faced yet, because they don't have the penetration or the differences of the change and the prosumers and the integration of large grid scale and, reinventing the grid at the same time as you're trying to rebuild it. Yeah, all these things mean that the talent and the experience that you have in Puerto Rico is exportable now, and it's going to be incredibly exportable in 5-10 years time.
And I think, Tom, to your point, I think we'll probably export to the other islands of the Caribbean easier, because they're going to have a massive need. They all have to follow, and their energy is very expensive already.
Yeah.
And then we'll probably start exporting some, which is going to be sad, to some of the states of the Union as well.
Ignacio, Glenn is an energy equipment supplier. You guys work in a number of other Caribbean and Latin American countries, as well as US markets. Thinking about Puerto Rico in the context of the broader United States, is Puerto Rico an emerging market within the US, or is it the US with island logistics? How do we tease apart where Puerto Rico actually sits in this conversation? Do we look to Florida and Louisiana, or do we look to the Dominican Republic and Jamaica? Where's the model that we actually fit into when thinking about not only bringing in capabilities, but exporting the capabilities that we're developing from rooftop solar and industrial microgrids to what else?
Sam, all of the above.
Yeah, exactly.
All of the above. You're not limiting yourself. I mean, right now, if you look, Winmar opened an office in Miami, in all of Florida.
Right.
And Winmar is doing crazy good in Florida. And there's other companies. Ideco actually is doing work in Virginia and other places of the Union. So I mean, you already have these people starting to plot their seats out there. Meanwhile, if you go to the U.S. Virgin Islands, all of the renewable projects are being done by people here in Puerto Rico, and this is the U.S. Virgin Islands. So I mean, you're gonna start seeing these guys open up their wings and start moving in the direction of other islands of the Caribbean. I am sure we're gonna see that. All you're gonna see perhaps the voltages are different or the frequencies are different in some of the British or French islands, but I'm telling you, the need is there. Every time I go to some islands like San Martin or San Barts or some of these, they're all dying for it. They're like, hey, we need your help.
Yeah.
We have no one here that can do what you guys do all the time and design all the time down there. So we're actually grabbing Angel Sayas from AZ Engineering and sending him to different islands to go and do trainings and help and do the consulting services, because he does such a great job at it.
He's terrific.
So I mean, again, little by little, we're gonna see more and more of that. Actually, in the energy event, we're gonna have over 100 people from different islands of the Caribbean coming.
What about when we're thinking about developing energy solutions in Puerto Rico? So you just answered from an exporting from Puerto Rico model. What about from an importing model? Do we import other solutions from the? I mean, and I obviously know it's going to be a hybrid, but when you think about when you understand where Puerto Rico takes its lessons from, are we better suited for translating or transferring knowledge from other islands that are outside the U.S. jurisdiction, or transferring knowledge from U.S. jurisdictions because it's effectively the U.S. with a island logistics challenge, or is it really an emerging market given bankruptcy and financial capabilities and talent out migration and whatnot?
Yeah, again, complex questions. You're filled with complex questions, but I think
I think the answer is just yes.
yeah, it's all of the above, all of the above. But again, Sam, I think that the potential that we have, due to the fact that we, and let's face it, Maria placed us there. Maria created the necessity, and the island responded. And the reason why the island responded was perhaps because we had the ability to, due to the fact that we have such great engineers and great electricians in the island. And they all pretty much took it upon themselves to, hey, we can do better, which is my big saying all the time. We can always do better. And they did. I mean, they started studying, implementing different things, asking for different solutions, and putting them together to create what we have today.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. How many, like my home runs on solar. I have 2 electric vehicles. My resiliency story is phenomenal. And we created those different things here, and I implemented them. And I'm telling you, my home went through Maria very well. And if another hurricane was to come, I have my solar system to get me through it, and I have a 30 kilowatt diesel generator to back up that backup system. So, I mean, I learned from that mistake, and now I'm prepared for that. But how many people have done that? Many people have actually done that implementation themselves, even banks.
Yeah.
What other bank in the world has storage in over 50% of their branches? Banco Popular took it upon itself after Hurricane Maria to implement inverters and battery systems for even their shopping center branches, because they saw that the day after the hurricane, the economy of the island turned into a cash economy because there were no communications.
Yeah.
So they created in these ATH systems a way to be able to support it via microwave or wireless communications for emergency services, and have backup energy for 3 days after the hurricane for people to go to the ATM and get cash.
And maybe this is one of the key capabilities that we
That's
export.
amazing.
Very important.
I mean, what other bank in the U.S. has that? Nobody does.
And maybe this is one of the key capabilities.
Not yet.
This is perhaps
Not
the key
yet.
capability
Yes.
that we export to the rest of the United States as well, is disaster preparedness, right? In terms of being, and that's not just true on sort of the general public services like banking, but we were talking a moment ago about industry, and industry in Puerto Rico has unique hybrid solution where it's gas, it's the grid, it's diesel, it's battery. Some of them have solar as well. I mean, it really, you can see a lot of creativity with regards to how industry has set up for continuous, reliable operations in Puerto Rico.
Well, and they've changed actually since Maria, right? Before Maria, a lot of these groups had diesel generators, and they were able to run for a short period of time, but they learned a number of lessons. So many of them have instituted batteries, solar, other types. They still have diesel, but it's not, and many of the diesel has been replaced by gas in some cases.
Or is it backup of their
It's a
backup?
backup.
It's a
of the
third
backup now.
tier, yeah.
And the other lesson that they learned was, even if they had the facilities to keep themselves running, they couldn't keep their business open because nobody else was resilient. So they became little resiliency centers, and they couldn't do business because everybody else was kind of, they didn't have power at home. So they'd come. If they came because they needed to have light, they needed air conditioning, they needed something else.
So what? Let me address this. Something amazing. Think about this. You go to Amgen, you go to Abbott, you go to AbbVie, you go to Lilly, you go to all these pharmas which are here, and there's many, many, many more. IPR, Zeneca, all of these guys have their own microgrids, and they're all running. And if you look at who's running them, it's all Puerto Rican engineers.
That's absolutely right.
So I mean, these are guys that are actually running those power plants, those cogenerations, and those microgrids, and running them very well.
Yeah.
And I mean, it shows the power of engineering. I'm telling you guys, this is a subdued, kind of like hidden secret about the capacity of engineering that we have in Puerto Rico, which is absolutely phenomenal.
So,
I mean, they're fairly humble,
Yeah,
but they're very good at what they do.
you're right.
globally recognized.
Where you see more foreign companies, and many of them support us, support you guys. Will be at our conference, your conference. They come in really to provide some structure to develop, right? To planning, to equipment, supply, things that you can't do off the island. But the people who are doing all the work, the people who are maintaining the systems once they're constructed, it's all Puerto Ricans, right?
Yeah.
And they're highly talented and motivated.
So let's stay in the industrial manufacturing sector for a second, because we're seeing Solex set up a panel manufacturing shop on the northwest side of the island in Aguadilla. I'm hearing rumors about a battery manufacturer that's looking to set up shop on the island. You work a lot with and very directly with OEMs around the world. Many of them are sponsors of Energy 2025, will be present on the island if they're not already present on the island. When we're looking to attract more manufacturing, particularly to enhance Puerto Rico's role as an equipment supplying market for other U.S. jurisdictions, particularly now as domestic content requirements are changing in the 45X advanced manufacturing credit, as well as for anybody who wants to do energy projects in the U.S. needs to have higher and higher percentages of locally made content. How do we attract some of the OEMs that you're working with to manufacture their equipment directly in Puerto Rico?
Okay, so it's an issue of scale.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I'm concerned about that because I've seen plants. I've been to many manufacturing plants where they actually manufacture panels, solar panels, PV panels. And some of them, actually, two of the ones that I visited make their own wafers. So they're developing the silica, and they're actually calling the wafers. I gotta tell you, Sam, the scale's pretty impressive. And when you look at the robotics, everything that goes on in some of those locations, and how energy intensive they are to actually do that manufacturing, when you actually start talking to some of these people that are running these plants, and you hear from them that they're paying 2 cents, 2.5 cents kilowatt hour, and that if you ask them, have you ever had a power outage, or have you ever had, and they go, no, what is that? We don't even know what that is. That's what they look for, and we're far from being able to offer that. I hope that someday we're there. The only thing that will get us there will be SMRs and having a super stable power grid. And if we actually are able to attain that, which we may, it's going to be 12 to 15 years down the line. Yeah. This is not going to happen in the next 2 to 3 or 4 years.
That's more sort of my concern, is that some of these projects are really exciting, but how replicable are they? And maybe one addition to what you're saying is something that would change that math perhaps is success begets success, right? Having the first couple that come to the island and say, look, I trust the island with this, so I can set up a cogen facility, batteries, solar, hybrid, microgrid, make sure that I don't have to worry about my robotics. I'm just going to be able to operate smoothly. I have access to some of the best talent you can find anywhere at a competitive rate, and I have access to the U.S. market without any tariffs.
So let me give you an example. One of the things
that succeeds, or we might incentivize others to join.
Think of manufacturing panels. If you think of manufacturing a solar panel, you need silica. I mean, if you have mines here, and you have silica mines, and you could actually extract that could probably be unattractive. But what we're thinking is, well, what about recycling? So we're bringing one of the speakers at the end of the event, in the second portion of the event of energy. We have a company called Comstock. So we have Corrado Díaz making a presentation on a recycling equipment, manufacturing recycling system that he actually implemented in Nevada. Yeah. And they actually have a conveyor belt, and they put solar panels, and it recycles 100% of the solar panel.
Yeah, interesting.
And he actually is coming and making a presentation on how that machine works, how they recycle, crush the aluminum, crush the glass, crush the silica into powder form, recycle the chips, crush the cable, and recycle 100% of the panel, which is amazing. This is an answer to the people that are saying that we're mining ourselves out of existence, because we can actually create a circular economy. And because one of the things he wants to do is come to Puerto Rico, maybe set up a plant here to recycle the Caribbean in Puerto Rico. Yeah. And if I don't know where you do that, now you have a circular economy here where you have the silica. And if you have the silica and the aluminum and the glass, and you have the components here which are being recycled, and you can actually now have, with all that material here, manufacturing plant at a reduced cost, now you're hitting something. Yeah. But until you have either mining or recycling, and you can create a circular economy, it's going to be really tough to be able to compete with the other players.
Tom, we have a members workshop on Monday, September 15th, the first morning of our event. That's going to be focusing on the circular economy. We're proud to partner with e-cycling and they're doing a number of
Doing amazing Humacao.
Oh, yeah.
the project they've got in Humacao. If you're interested in the circular economy, particularly end of life management of solar panels. I mean, you and I were on the phone a couple of months ago doing back of the envelope calculations that we might have over the last 10 years have imported about 5 million solar panels on the island. If a storm comes and knocks out 10%, we have no capacity to deal with 500,000 solar panels tomorrow. Let alone, and that's 10%, right? That could be conservative.
Right?
Up to $1 billion.
Depending upon the situation. And that's from a category 3 storm estimates.
And this has to be thought of as part of like the initial sequence of activity and saying we're interested in continuing to accelerate solar in Puerto Rico. We have to think about the entire life cycle of what's going on. So the circular economy.
By the way, that's where e-cycling came from. It was from that plant in Font Roche in Humacao, and all those panels that were all over the road. And that's when he decided to create that, to be able to recycle all of those panels. I mean, it's a brilliant, created out of necessity.
Yep.
And he's there, and it's working well.
Yeah, I mean, he'll tell you. I mean, the first step is really it's end of life management, right? We need something to do with the panels, and unless this is the other side of what you were just arguing, right? Unless you find something like an industry or something to do with the equipment, etc., you are probably not going to recycle panels in Puerto Rico, but you have to manage these things.
Oh,
So
but
then
again, I mean, think about it, and it's not only in hurricanes.
No.
You grab, like I changed my panels because I had first generation. I was at 280, 285
exactly
per panel, 60 cell, and I went to 405. Next generation, smaller size, and 40-50% more generation. So I mean, I changed my panels just because they were much more efficient, and the other ones I still have them back there. Because I don't want to throw them away, and I prefer to do recycling or something with it. But there's many people like that.
Yeah, this is part of the issue is that we need to actually have a study on what is the route that panels take to the landfill, because as you said, not all of them reach their end of the end of their useful life. They just might become obsolete given technological upgrades, or they might arrive broken, or they might be defective in the first place.
Those still work.
So reuse, right?
Those still work. Somebody may not have a need for high energy, and they may be able to use these panels and work perfectly fine.
A lot of people in Puerto Rico and on the Caribbean islands and other places don't have that need, right? They just need some power.
At 290, 285 will do work.
And if you're selling them for 5 cents on the dollar of what a new panel costs, even though it's got no warranty, that's great. Yeah, that
people will use it. Yeah,
absolutely. You can end of life management, the reuse part of it is huge for the panels, just like you're talking about. But you're also missing there's a lot of breakage, right, in shipping of panels from off the island, and you'll probably have a better number, but I was told it's sometimes 2-3%. Are not necessarily to where they can't work, but where they maybe look marred or physically damaged in a way that
we do better. We do better because we bring them only on closed containers. So we're very careful.
But there is some breakage.
There are.
And so you need to be able to,
even in the installation when you bring it to roofs and stuff, it just sometimes they crack or transportation they break.
Right.
So it happens. It's true. But I'm telling you, as this evolves, they become much more efficient, and people are upgrading because they have a need for more energy. Everybody's using more energy, so whether it's for EVs or other equipment they have in their home. It's just they need more.
Right.
Ignacio, you guys work closely with Luma, Genera, some of the other major players in Puerto Rico in terms of making sure they have access to the equipment they need to do the grid repairs. We've heard over the last several years about supply chain issues, global variety of reasons, from wars to shipping lanes being blocked to you name it. Tariffs are part of that conversation. When you think about the most important equipment, where are the longest lead times and
transformers?
And how do we actually address that? Or are we just at the whim of global markets? Or is there a strategy where we can reduce our need for so many or in certain places?
There's no way around that. There's other, supply chain creates problems everywhere. And it's not an issue of, because if you think of it, everybody else is upgrading their grids soon. It's not just us. Ohio's doing theirs, Pennsylvania's doing, all the states of the union are moving to Florida Power and Light.
And they're not bankrupt.
Yeah, and understand that they're doing it for different reasons. They're doing it to strengthen and to create more resilience, or sometimes they're doing it because they're growing out of existence. I mean, if you think of Florida, think of Texas, they're just growing like there's no tomorrow.
Wait. Are you telling me that other places actually replace old equipment? Don't just duct tape it together and
Early. Actually, they have
fast it's used.
Second to transformers, power transformers, because we're getting a little bit better in distribution transformers.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be 2 years. Now we're getting around 30 weeks, 32 weeks, which is about half a year. So it's getting a little bit better. But power transformers, 2 years.
Yeah.
There's no way around that.
Yeah.
And
that's down, frankly.
But 2 years is still a long time. And one of the issues that I have to address it. So the power transformers that we have in all the substations in Puerto Rico, the life expectancy is 20 to 25 years. We've been using them for close to 40. So there's no way around it. You have to change them. I mean, you can't, right now, that's a dynamite stick lit up. We have a time bomb and we have to change them. And the orders have been placed and we're just waiting for deliveries. And that's an issue. And we're just going to have to sit and pray and hope that we can buy some time. Yeah. The second one, think of high voltage breakers. I mean, deliveries on this thing is 2 years, 2.5 years, 115 to 30 kV high voltage breakers. And sometimes we go to manufacturers like Hitachi or Mitsubishi or some of these guys, Siemens, and we beg for exceptions and stuff because of that solar farms project.
Right.
But it's still hard. I mean, and people think that, I hate it because a lot of people sit and they say, well, we're going to reconstruct this power grid in 4 years because that's how long the governor's going to be there.
Yeah.
That's just not going to happen. A power grid's going to take 14 years, maybe 15 years to rebuild. It's just the way it is. It's going to take a lot longer than 4 years.
It is.
It may take 12 to 15 years.
And that's what we need our politicians to be talking about. We need them to be talking to the public about, it's a hard road.
It's expectation management.
Well, you need a wartime governor, right? I mean, someone who says, yes, this is a war.
Dark days are ahead of us.
Dark days. We need a Churchill to talk about energy in Puerto Rico.
Ignacio, I've got a couple of lightning round questions. So if you're up for it, just quick 1 word or 1 sentence reflection on these ideas.
Sure.
And we'll see how many we get through. And Tom, jump in here if you want to rebut, add to, or offer an entirely different.
I'll wait to the end so we don't slow them down.
All right, fair enough. All right, first question: Puerto Rico as the U.S. energy sandbox.
Oh, wow. Don't agree with that. If you think of it, there's other states that also have issues, including Hawaii. I wouldn't say we're a sandbox. I actually think we are a incubation location and created out of necessity. I wouldn't call it a sandbox. I think perhaps this administration doesn't have an idea of the gift that Puerto Rico has to offer. But I think we have developed ourselves to be an incredible incubation location for talent and for solutions that once they see what we have developed here, they'll probably be very keen to implement elsewhere in the nation.
So on that point, and you guys both gave me a yes and answer earlier. So I'm going to press you on making a decision here. Who's the primary beneficiary of successfully incubated energy solutions in Puerto Rico? Is it Caribbean islands, Latin America, or other U.S. jurisdictions?
I think Caribbean and U.S. jurisdictions. That's really where it's going to come down to. I think the rest of the Caribbean and more the islands that are close to us, but also a lot of the places in the United States where Puerto Ricans have moved to.
Yeah.
And they can very easily take this technology. As energy, hey, let's face it, California has issues with energy. And that's another state that has developed quite a bit. And you have a lot of Puerto Ricans living in California.
Sure.
You have a bunch of Puerto Ricans living in Texas. And let's face it, the Republic of Texas is disconnected from the rest of the power grid.
It's an island.
That's an island. It's a big island. But they have hurricanes too. But now you have a group of Puerto Ricans there that actually can manage and actually bring solutions to Texas that will probably be very welcome. Not to mention the fact that Elon moved to Texas now, so he's living in Austin. So I think that all of them will benefit. And we're not done developing our technologies and our solutions. We continue to evolve, so I think it's going to be great.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, we have a presentation coming in energy that talks about solid state storage, and is 4 times the density. Now think about this for a second. You have a power wall, or you have any kind of battery in your home that gives you 13 kilowatt hours of battery. Once this technology that's currently moving into EVs and already being sold with Mercedes and Stellantis,
Yep.
once that moves to the residential sector, in that same footprint that you have a power wall, instead of 13, you're gonna have 60 kilowatt hours.
So
60 kilowatt hours.
Yeah, no, and
That
less
is-
prone to fires, less prone to a lot of other things because
Because it has no thermal runaway.
correct.
And you can charge it super fast, because the thermal runaway means it has no thermal runaway, so you can charge it at full capacity.
Yep.
So the charge comes in very quickly.
so let me
Hard,
ask.
hard
let
to
me-
manufacture and very expensive, but it's more of a process. Solve the process and gets more or less expensive. And,
Yeah.
So let me ask.
Well, with scale, that will happen.
Let me ask you a question about batteries then. Are 4-hour battery storage solutions as the global default then overrated and will be phased out? Or as grid repairs come online, the need for much longer storage capacity is not so necessary?
This is going to be, remember, this technology is a premium right now.
Yeah.
So, we have evolved. If you think of it, we went from lithium ion to lithium ion phosphate. Now we're moving into solid state lithium. I mean, this is a big jump. Cost-wise is a big jump. Technology
Yeah.
and as far as density and everything is another big jump. But we're not done. I mean, this stuff will continue to evolve.
Yeah.
You remember the whole rack and this is going to be a little square of blue light that's going to give you power for your home for like 6 months. If you think of where we're moving into a direction that's going to be very interesting. And I got to tell you, this is going to revolutionize energy as we know it, because every power grid in the world is going to see this. Think of the people that do tariffing. I mean, you're going to be able to install a battery and just have it go time of use. And just buy energy when it's cheap, and just utilize your own, and then sell the other one when it's super expensive.
Yeah.
And everybody's there's gonna be solutions that are gonna be the whole power of your home for 3 days in a little power wall thing with solid state and with an inverter, and you can program it with your phone, connect it, and you're done. And everybody will have this. I mean, this is gonna revolutionize the way we do energy everywhere. So it's a crazy thing, and we are moving it here already. And we're going to be speaking about it.
You have to, right? I mean, for all sorts of strange reasons, and net metering, and how do you do policy and change things without necessarily changing the law, but being able to, right? I mean,
but you know what?
Interesting.
You know what? I've been talking. That we do business in all the islands. So all of these British islands and French islands, and so they're trying to get very protective about their power generation and the grid. And they're like, "Well, if you do your own solar, we're not going to buy your energy. We won't do net metering." But again, and they're pushing people to do exactly that.
Yeah.
And you're going, you know what? Cut the cable.
Yeah.
You're going to have some of these people in these islands going, I don't need you anymore. I have my own generation with solar. I have my own batteries. I have everything. I don't need your cable.
I mean, I've got it's spending the last few days with friends who are developing property like surrounded by Junque, Naguabo, and they went out and they developed the whole thing, and they said, no, we're going to be off grid, right?
Yeah.
We're building it all, and there's you could tap into the line, they could do the whole thing, but no, I said, no, we're going to build this up, and we're just going to build it out, and it's solar and storage, and if we feel we need a backup at some point, we'll get a little gas or diesel generators at backup.
That's it.
Backup with the batteries, and they're great. It's fantastic. Yeah.
And we're going to see a lot of that, Sam. And what's crazy is, you talk to some of the people that do in the Caribbean, they do Starlink. And you ask me, oh, so you do Starlink? What do you do Starlink? They go, because I was fed up of the monopoly of the telephone company and charging me whatever people just get mad when you push them into a corner.
Right.
And as people get pushed into a corner in these little islands of the Caribbean, because the government tries to be very overprotective of their generation, maybe they have interest in those. I don't know, or these people go, you know what, give me a solution. It's already there,
Right.
and I can implement it, and I'm going to be tapping out and running my own thing. And then out of nowhere, there are customers. I mean, we have something like that in Luma going on. People plugging out, and just the people that have capabilities to pay, they're pretty much doing their own thing.
No,
So it's dangerous.
And if we talked about the things we talked about earlier in terms of 10, 11 cents, needing to raise it to pay the bankruptcy, etc. That
Oh,
horrible for the people of Puerto Rico. Incredible for the energy industry and developing these solutions. I mean,
Yeah.
talk about a force function.
yeah.
So jumping back
Yeah.
into the lightning round.
It puts fuel into that industry.
It lights it on fire.
Yeah.
Totalmente en candela.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overrated or underrated? Caribbean intertie between islands.
Extremely underrated right now. Extremely underrated. I mean, and more Puerto Rico. I think, you know, they have like CARICOM, different associations and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But since Puerto Rico is considered part of the United States, we're kind of like seen as a U.S. state. So Dominican Republic integrates a lot with the islands of the Caribbean. And then you have some of those little niches that are created, like the Dutch Antilles, which is Aruba, Curacao, Bonaire, and Saint Martin. And then you have the French Antilles because they speak the same language and they're part of the same culture. You know, so it's very divided. And then you have the British little empire, right? So you have Cayman, you have Turks and Caicos, you have a hybrid with Jamaica because Jamaica is kind of like their own, but they're still very tied to the British, same as Bahamas. And you have the British Virgin Islands. So it's so segregated.
It's a great idea that's impossible to implement politically.
But don't get me wrong.
For
I mean,
30 plus years.
But you know what's interesting is that we're bringing a lot of people from all of these islands to energy.
Yeah.
And, you know, the fact that we are communicating on the technology openly and, you know, we have a reputation for teaching. We just want to help people learn. We don't want to fish and give them a fish. We want to learn. We want to teach them how to fish so they can do their own.
And not just about fish. We don't teach them about fisheries so they can maintain their fish catch and
Yeah,
everything
that's
else
true.
forever. Let's
Yeah,
not.
that's even
No, I'm just
Expanded analogy.
Yeah,
This-
wow,
this is
that's
my-
deep. That's deep.
So this is my analogy for when I put together Fundación Borincana, and the kind of we do very nerdy things in terms of building capacity and capabilities.
Yeah.
And this was my explanation. It's like, no, we didn't come here to teach people to fish. Came here to teach people to fish and to share that knowledge, but also to learn about fisheries so they can create a sustainable
Yeah,
continuum.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Ignacio,
Yep.
chip-based microgrids for disaster recovery.
why would you do it ship-based if you can actually do it in a land environment?
Flexibility in terms of how it how it supports specific geographies on the island that may need more support, or maintenance or program downtime for specific coastal generation facilities.
Yeah, I tell you. Okay,
For a lot of
I'm
islands-
game to look at it.
And I'm not proposing it. I'm just throwing it out
I'm
there.
game to look at it, but the times that we have seen that, including the issue with the ships that they were going to bring for generation for the island of Puerto Rico for emergencies. But every time we've looked at those options, they're extremely expensive. And again, creating a microgrid is not as complex as people think. So if you look at cost structure to create your own microgrid, most of the people here already have some of the components that they need for that. So it's just accentuating it and finishing it. And I don't think the costs are as high as you imagine. Granted, if we bring up cost of energy 11 cents kilowatt hour, these will become extremely feasible immediately, like that same day.
So thinking about the sunset for federal tax credits as recently amended in the One Big Beautiful Bill, over or under that Puerto Rico solar farms enter service by the end of 2027,
Yep.
given the long lead times for some of the energy equipment and where we've seen them go in the last couple of
4
years.
projects, which are really Trench 1, Trench 2, and Trench 4, because 3 passed to 4. So 4 projects on solar and 3 projects on batteries.
So of the 18
Yeah.
approved, maybe 4 enter service by the end of
there's
2027?
Yeah, there's 2 that are pre-trench that are happening now. Zero is the first one that will connect, which will happen probably at the end of this month or next month. And that's 100 meg.
Yeah.
And then you have 4 other projects that are pushing forward without a hitch with the OPO, and they have good timelines, so they're not going to be crunched. And then you have 3 that are trying to push through that I am not going to put my hands on the fire on those. But then you have 4 storage projects, storage farms that already have the funding that are moving forward, that should be fine also on a timeline.
And those are less affected, right? Because the battery storage credits are not going to be sunsetting by
Yeah.
the end of 2027.
Yeah.
So
Well, the interesting thing to note, though, and again, in terms of stuff in Puerto Rico, these are basically all on balance sheet. I mean, there's debt, but there's, like from the DOE, et cetera, but they're providing a corporate guarantee on that debt. So, you're talking about people that, and hats off to them, right? I mean, they want to be here and they need to generate the financing, but ultimately they're taking the full risk of the financing.
Now, so I had a conversation with a fair a little earlier today. Think of this: ITC is gone, right? So it has a sunset time, and it's going to go away. So a lot of these developers in the United States, once the ITC goes away, they're going to be like, it's not worth doing these projects here in the US because we don't have the ITC. And then out of nowhere, Puerto Rico raises cost of energy to 40 something cents. Guess what their head's gonna do? We're like, huh? Wait, we can go there and sell energy. They're buying at 40 something cents.
if the cost of doing the project goes up 20-25%, but the cost of energy goes up
But then
30 to 50%.
remember the point that Tom made in a prior conversation. If I don't know where financial instruments become available for Puerto Rico, that you don't depend on the DOE LPO, which is not going to be there anymore. And now you have financial instruments to provide, a solution for coming in and doing solar farms here that are much higher rate, 3 to 4 times what they pay on a PPA in the US. Now you can have all these developers joining a pair and coming in and developing projects here in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, great for behind the meter or microgrid projects. Obviously not good for grid connected projects because you're not capturing the benefit of anything that's repaying debt. But for anything that,
But depends on the cost you're selling it to.
Correct.
So I don't know where that
That
cost is.
depends on their capability to buy it.
Yeah, but think about this.
You're competing against the new gas-fired generation effectively.
Well, but think about this. You have the cost of these what the solar farms in the United States under this PPOA or these solar developments is typically 3 cents, 3.5 cents kilowatt hour. US. We're here at 11 to 12 cents the cheapest, and people were moving to the 13, 14 cents. If you think about it,
right?
If and granted, we have higher cost of everything. Land is more expensive, insurance more expensive, the labor's more expensive. So if you look at all of the different things, permitting is a problem. So, but if we can actually alleviate some of this and make it easier, all of these people will come down and invest and create these solutions for the island because it makes sense.
Yeah.
You have a market that will pay a bit of a premium for energy. Now, granted, it will have to compete with natural gas and some of the other options.
Yeah,
I think it can.
No, I mean, look, there's tons
12 cents,
more
13
that's
cents.
still going on. For all of the as you talked about the bluster in DC and negative aspect of the wind. The things that you can get done the fastest are solar, and it's needed because of all the power demand. The fact that the ITC is going away is really a question of transition, right? So you're not going to be bidding in. You're going to be bidding in as if you don't get the ITC. You still get the accelerated depreciation. On the plus side, like developers are, secretly wondering how we're going to get through the next 2 years, and are we going to meet this deadline, and can we do the financing? But if they're doing developments for periods after that, they're going, oh, this is much easier. We don't need all of this crap around legal that you have to structure this. We don't have to have somebody else, dicking in our thing. We could just do a simple equipment lease if we want. If we can't capture the accelerated depreciation, most of them probably can capture the accelerated depreciation, but they couldn't capture the value of the tax credits. So you've got a much greater incentive for developers to potentially grow, merge, develop, use their own capital because they don't have to worry about the tax. They don't have to need somebody else to monetize the tax credits. And then the price will adjust up in the utility sector.
So let me ask you about another technology, and not just in the Puerto Rico context, but perhaps globally or nationally at the very least. Green hydrogen, overrated or underrated?
Super underrated right now.
Because for me, and let me offer you an idea and push back on it if you want to. It strikes me it occupies sort of the same place in my head as flying cars. That for the last 50 years we have always been 10 years away. And in the 80s we were 10 years away from hydrogen, and it still seems like we were 10 years away. And what gives you the confidence that in 10 years we won't be 10 years away?
Nuclear.
So it'll be pink hydrogen.
Yeah,
Well,
call it
it's-
pink, but it's still green.
It's gonna be all.
No, no, whatever. They all have their own
Still
color
green.
right there. Yeah, but
Still green.
it's a
Which is
nuclear-based hydrogen.
Kind of
It's so
insane.
green.
I mean,
It's a
gray,
subset of the
blue,
nuclear.
green and
But-
the others.
I mean, it's fuel.
You need it all, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you need to get this. I mean, these conversations with people, the tax credits and why they were good and why they were important. It got people to invest. More importantly, it got the potential users to begin to invest ahead of that to be able to use hydrogen in their operations, whether it's steel or something else. You need to see a certain amount of development momentum, actually things being produced before you start investing.
I think of green hydrogen as a battery. I mean,
it is in a way, right?
Yeah. And so think you have a SMR, you have a small modular reactor, and you're generating capacity, and it's a subset of the energy that you're generating that's not being utilized. And all you're doing with that energy and with that heat is just generating hydrogen and saving it to the side. And they can use that as a fuel source later on. I mean, it's idiotic not to do it.
It's not effectively stored though, unless you turn it into methanol or something like that, which would have a longer storage life and then re-extract it. But that's how you ship it.
Unless how fast you use it. Because
Exactly.
if you use it very quickly.
But it's much more valuable than electricity that you produce, which is
Yeah,
you use
right.
right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last two quick fire questions.
By the way, just so you know,
Yeah.
we have a guy coming for interview, Hector Aruña, which is a backup speaker, because he's actually going to address also with Dr. Alex Yu on the Factorial solid state battery, the next generation batteries, because he's actually the founding member of Factorial, but he is actually the guy doing the green hydrogen project in Vieques. And he asked me for 30 minutes to give an update on the Vieques, what they're doing in Vieques right now with the green hydrogen, which is pretty developed. And he wanted to give a quick 30-minute update into all the success stories there. I don't have the 30 minutes, but if well, there you go.
And-
I can actually ask him. But
Yeah,
if we can carve him, if I can carve it out, I would love for him to give that.
When you had
green
Oscar
hydrogen.
talking 2 years ago about that Vieques project, right? Communities Through Colors.
Yeah.
You had an office in Guatemala for nearly
years.
2 decades.
Yeah, 20 years. Yeah.
Are hilachas the best Guatemalan food, or do you have a favorite Guatemalan dish?
Oh my goodness.
This is a different type of fuel, right?
So I am not one to think of different kind of fuel. So I think of favorite restaurants. So if you end up going to Guatemala,
I went for my honeymoon.
I'll tell you where to go. So there's a restaurant called Donde Miquel in Guatemala City. And it's a Spanish guy that he uses like 1 billion tons of olive oil, typically Spanish, but they have shrimp, fish. I mean, everything is super fresh. Their octopus, their calamari. I mean, I tell you, sometimes I wake up after a dream of being in Guatemala eating in this place. You have to go there. And it's right in the heart of Guatemala City. It is a phenomenal place. So again, when you tell me Guatemala, you think, and you are making me think about food, that's immediately where I go. Don't make it so.
All right, and last lightning round question. The importance of whiskey at the deal table.
Oh wow. Imperative, but it has to be good.
I'll say something else, because I used to negotiate over whiskey a lot in the earlier project finance days, and the longer it stays on the bar cart until you make the deal, then you can have a drink.
Yeah, that's true. Once you close, you bring it up. But I gotta tell you, I mean, I keep this here for specific reasons. And when it comes down to Blanton's Gold, it's actually very hard to beat. So I mean, that's one that. But yeah, I think it's imperative. Once the deal is closed, I think it's imperative that you have to have it around.
All right, final question,
Yeah.
Ignacio. There's a lot of people tracking the energy sector in Puerto Rico.
Mhm.
In your mind, what is the most important metric that they can look at, not only today, but to use as a trend line to understand the progress or lack thereof with regards to the local sector? Is it cost per kilowatt hour? Is it uptime or downtime? Is it generation capacity? Is it reserve? generation? What's the
Yeah.
metric you look at to say
The one that I look-
transformer lead time? What do we look
No,
at to say
no,
Puerto Rico's on the right track or
No,
not?
the one that we all have to look at is the stability of our energy. I mean, because it's so complex. I tell people, everybody go, oh, you know what? Most of the cases are based on Genera. It's a generation issues, not even T&D.
Okay, so stability.
But when it
This
came,
year.
when Maria came, it was all T&D.
Okay, so stability, is that SAIDI, SAIFI, what frequency or duration?
It's stability. It's quality of energy
Yeah.
and having no outages whatsoever, no rolling blackouts.
No.
Just having stable energy, something you can trust and something you can depend on. And currently we're not there. And it is going to take us time because it's not an issue of T&D and substations only. It's also the generation side. We have very little reserves.
Yeah.
We are going to be speaking with Jesus Cintrón,
Yeah.
who we had on the Energy Forum last month,
Great
and he's
guy.
going to be speaking
Yeah.
on a keynote at the Clean Energy Week, Puerto Rico Clean Energy Week that the Energy Forum is hosting in September, talking specifically about how that project alone,
With the
1.72
storage.
of best capacity, gigawatt hours of best capacity, is projected to reduce generation-based outages by 90%. And I've published on LinkedIn that if you want a bright spot in a whole lot of challenges, that is one of those things that almost immediately, not just for generation efficiency, but for generation response time, is going to be a game changer that enables a lot of other activities going on the island. So let me just plug your event one more time. October 10th, Friday, October 10th, Convention Center, Energy 2025. This is an event that Ignacio and Glenn and a whole bunch of other global names put on every 2 years. That's how jam-packed it is with content, material, and experts. That's Friday, October 10th. Before that, and I would encourage everybody to go get tickets on energypr.biz. Before that, take a look at our event, Puerto Rico Clean Energy Week, September 15th and 16th at Vivo Beach Club. We're going to be having a whole bunch of conversations. Today, in the last hour or so, we discussed a lot. We ranged from green hydrogen to Guatemalan food and a whole lot of other things that pertain very specifically to energy in Puerto Rico and specifically these events. Puerto Rico is a ripe place for the energy conversation. If you're interested in more detailed analysis, follow the Energy Forum, follow Glenn, follow Ignacio, and join the conversation. So Ignacio, I think we'll leave it there. Thank you for joining the forum. Thank you for being a part of this. Thanks for the collaboration on these events. I'm excited.
Thank you.
See you guys at Energy.
See you there.
We will.